according to the biblical calendar, is the first of Nisan. And this is the biblical New Year's Day. So we could say to you, Happy New Year. And I actually think this is a big topic that's missed in the Jewish world and the Christian world and the secular world. The secular world is thinking about January 1st. I don't see much meaning to that. The Jewish world mostly thinks of Rosh Hashanah at the time of the Feast of Trumpets, which is not the primary biblical New Year. And mostly the Christian world doesn't really think it's that important one way or the other. But according to the Bible, this is in, I want us to look right now in Exodus chapter 40. The first day of the first month is Nisan. Exodus chapter 40 verse 2 says, B'yom ha'chodesh harishon be'achad lachodesh takim et mishkan ohel moed. Verse 17, he goes over there. He says, Vayhi b'chodesh harishon b'shana hashinit be'achad lachodesh hukam hamishkan. What does that mean? Let's just give this a little historical context. You know, the children of Israel came out of Egypt. The first chapters of the first half of the book of Exodus, they came out on Passover. When is that? The 14th day of the first month, the 14th day of this month, which is Nisan, in another 2 weeks. And then they came out, and took them a little while to get to Mount Sinai, and then you have the giving of the law, and that was maybe about 2.5 months from there. And then the rest of that time, they're spending mostly dedicated to setting up this tabernacle. They're getting details after details after details. They finally build the whole tabernacle. It's all ready. They get to this time, and Bezalel and Oholiab bring all the material to Moses. Moses says, looks good, and God says, all right, set it up. They set up the whole tabernacle on the New Year's Day. And notice it said this is the new first day of the month of the second year. In other words, the first year, it was all this time. It took them exactly a year, well, actually 11.5 months to get it if they came out on Passover. They came out, and now they've set up the tabernacle on the first day of the first month of the second year from the time that they left Egypt. Now, it's interesting, I just want you to note this, that if you remember that the Feast of Purim is on the 14th of the month of the last month, which is the 12th month, which is Adar, and the Passover is on the full moon, the 14th day of the first month, which is Nisan. So it's 2 weeks after Purim and 2 weeks before Passover that you have the new biblical New Year's Day. So we have Purim 2 weeks behind us and Passover 2 weeks in front of us. It's right there. You can always know when the new year is. But what I think that they saw in the tabernacle was it was like a play. It was a silent play. It was symbolic act and that was being acted out in front of them for them to learn the lessons from it. That was, if I could put it this way, that was their Bible. It was a printing press Bible and they thought about it and they were looking at it, and it gets set up right in front of them and revealed to them on the first day of the month. The temple is set up. I think they spent all those 40 years meditating on what is the symbols of, how come you have to have a sacrifice? How come you have to wash your hands? How come there's a holy of holy place? How come only one person gets to go in? They're thinking about this all this time. So this was a big deal. This was, we're going to say, it's kind of like the publishing of the first Bible. And when did it happen? On the first day of the year. Now think of this. On New Year's Day, it's the beginning of the plan. Now, in God's world, remember, God planned things beforehand. So what happens on the first day is what he plans to be at the end. Remember, let's go back to creation. God created the Garden of Eden. And then we messed it up by our sin. It's taking God a long time to work with us to get it set back up again and restore it. But when you see the Garden of Eden, you see the beginning, the model of what God wants to reproduce for the whole world. And there's something about this first day. Why would God have this? That on the first day of the first month, the tabernacle is set up. As of course, when we come into the new covenant, that Yeshua said, the tabernacle is my body. The tabernacle is us, the people of faith, that God, he's setting up. This is what God had in mind, that you and me, that we would all become the remnant of Israel and the ecclesia of the nations, that we would become the tabernacle of God. You're one part of that tabernacle. I'm one part of that tabernacle. This is the New Year's message. I mean, isn't that better than getting drunk with the seculars or just eating apples and honey with our people? It's all good, but I'm saying there's something special here, realizing if it's the first day of the first month of New Year's, it's saying the meaning, not the tabernacle itself, but the meaning that tabernacle is the people of God, and that's what God has designed, and it's a pattern that God gave to Moses from heaven to show us, to say this is his plan, and he set it up on the first day of the first year to say, this is what I've been thinking from the beginning. The new year is also the last day of the last year. It's the beginning and the end. This is the holiday that represents the beginning and the end, the new creation. How is the beginning chapters of the Bible, Genesis 1, 2, and 3, match up the last 3 chapters of the book of Revelation. What God plans in the beginning, he completes at the end. There's a rabbinic saying that's very famous that it says, what is first in thought is last in completion. That this was thought of and planned on the first day, completed on the last day, and comes into fruition. They're given that all over the world, and it's all the pieces get prepared for a long time, the whole year, and then the last day, whoosh, they all get put together, they get set up, and the Spirit of God fills it up, and the angel of Jehovah walks into his temple, and it leads us on out into the future.
Hey!